Morning.
In a continuation from yesterday, let's really dig down and talk about effective business planning. I really appreciate the fact of how many people have their cameras on today. So that's very nice of all of you. I'm a person, I like energy, I like smiles, I like happiness. And ultimately, that's the goal of what we do, right? So I find that connecting your business to what makes you fulfilled is the gap, right? So we always say our mission statement is helping agents live more fulfilled lives, both professionally and personally. So if you're just waking up every day and just going to work and going through the motions, is that really fulfilling? Does it really feel like you have a purpose? So I find the difference between proactive planning, the difference between living and existing. When you have a plan, you have a purpose, you have a destination, you're living. When you wake up every day and you look at your phone and you go on Instagram and you hit that email button, which for some of our new friends here is an organized system, your email inbox is an organized system for other people's agendas. So literally the moment you wake up in the morning, you hit that button, you're reacting to what everyone else's priorities are and not your own. So I want you guys to effectively plan out the next 6 months of your life. It's unrealistic to think you're going to do it in the next 30 minutes, but we're going to start and we're going to write down actionable items today. Sounds good? So let's start with a checklist, right? The first thing I want you guys to write down is evening routine. People are wondering why are you starting with the evening? Because a successful morning starts the night before. Morning routine. Number two. Number three, contacting 5 people a day. Number four, skills needed. Number five, personal development. So let me go through the five again. Evening routine, morning routine, contacting 5 people a day. The fourth one is skills needed and personal development. Yesterday, we talked about numbers and skills. So, how many people are actively working on mastering a skill at this time? Peter, Will, a few of us, right? So let me share this concept with you guys. I call it a learning map, right? What we want to do right now is prioritize what skills do we need to learn to ultimately have more fulfillment in our business, right? It is very frustrating having and losing clients or going through the same challenges over and over and over again. And I find it absolutely crazy that we're all in the same business. The process of a transaction doesn't change, right? Not very much. The objections sure as hell don't change. There are only a couple new ones. But yet we haven't mastered the art of how we talk to people when people say things that aren't in alignment with our views. Those are skills, right? So if you look at really how do you plan skills, right? Well, there are three areas of a skill. First, you need to identify, need to learn, right? This is a skill that I'm going to need to learn in my career, right? So based on the conversations we have, someone unmute themselves and we'll go to a couple people and drop it in the chat box if you like as well. What's a skill that you currently do not have or don't have mastered that you feel that you need actively in the rest of your real estate career, quite frankly?
Such a quiet group today.
Barbara, I'm going to start calling people out. Barbara, what's a skill that you need today? Handling objections. You give me a specific objection. Barbara, what do you got while Corey's writing in the chat box? What's a skill that you need to learn?
I think I need to focus on my organization skills. I feel like I'm all over the place.
Okay. Well, Barbara, you and I are friends, so I'm gonna pick on you a little bit here.
Okay.
So this is where it gets challenging, right? I want to focus on organizing myself. Well, what does that mean, right? Like, if you look at Andrea, 4 was skill development, right? What does organizing mean? And let's go through this live. So when you say organized, right, we'll do some live coaching here. What does that mean and how do you quantify it?
Um, well, when you spoke about about having a routine and making a plan so that one day just doesn't bleed into the next and you don't get anything specifically done, that struck me as I need a proactive plan.
So here's what I want to point to everyone. We all want to do these things in our life, right? But if we don't know what success looks like, we don't know what the outcome is, we don't know what the key learning points and objectives are and what mastery looks like. So you're saying organize, right? So I would say for Barbara, being organized looks like having successful morning routine, evening routines, and blank time blocks in my day to be able to accomplish X, right?
Yes.
So if you woke up and you programmed your morning, that's for your mind and your body and to set yourself up in a peak state for the rest of the day. You get to work your first hour. If you're an agent, your first hour should be blocked for making, well, 9. If you get to 8:30, I would suggest you get to the office. That might be early for some of you guys. But if not, look, you should get to the 9 to 9:30, get yourself prepared. 9:30 to 10, you guys are here. 10 to 11, you should make your 5 contacts, right? For you, your job, Barbara, is supporting people. So it's a little bit different, right? So
Yeah.
you need to figure out what your non-negotiable time blocks are in the beginning of the day, right? Because you got to remember, playing defense and reacting all the time, it makes you feel that you're in constant panic.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you feel like you're on quicksand. It does not make you feel like you're stable. So, imagine what it's like what our brain does in that whole fight or flight context. When you stand on something and it feels unstable, you get very uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And what a lot of us don't realize is our jobs are like that every day, right? So so now when you focus on being organized, well, what does that mean, right? I guess being organized, start with 1 or 2 hours of your day, right? Like that's a successful outcome for being organized, right? So write down on your piece of paper now, what do you want to organize? How does it look when it is organized? And then how can you be that person, right? So the skill that you really need to work on is not being organized, is effective time blocking.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Right. And if you guys want, we could do a whole session on morning routines and evening routines. And, before the pandemic, I spent many years of my life physically being at a gym between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. Right. So um, I am a very protective of my mornings and how I invest them. So that's actual skill development. So I need you guys to identify all the skills that you need to learn, right? Then I need you to identify which ones you actively learning, right? So think about it like this. How many people track how they learned? Okay, so can I share with you guys an effective way to track what you're doing? So what you're going to do is identify 5 skills that you need to learn, right? Remember, guys, for the agents on here, remember those numbers and where you need to focus, right? So if you're not making contacts, you need to focus on skill on prospecting, having conversations with people that you know. If you're getting appointments and you're not closing them, you need to focus on your listing presentation. If you're getting them and they require lots of price reductions that are not selling, you need to focus on pricing property correctly. If now your clients are upset with you and they're calling you all the time, it means you suck at communicating with them, period, end of story. You need to have a written communication plan and a structured process to do it, right? And now if you have a bunch of closings and you have no client reviews, you need to understand the skill of when to ask for the review, how to ask for it, and build that in, right? Buyers, same thing. If you're taking these people out for hundreds of houses, right? And they're not making any offers, you need to work on your buyer consultation. If they're making offers, but they're not realistic, you need to work on how you share the market, right? And if they're making offers and they just keep losing, you need to understand how to communicate to them in their best interest that they need to make a change. right? And the other one is with buyers, if they're just not buying anything, you need to work on qualifying and setting higher standards. So pick 5 skills, right? You guys will, every time I look at something, I see something different than everyone else. It's a gift and a curse in some ways, right? But isn't business planning heavily involved, Will, right? Just on setting numbers? I'm going to sell this many units. I'm going to do this many things, and this is what it is. That's great. But if you don't change who you are, how you show up, and how you talk to people and what you focus on, none of these numbers ever happen the way that they should. And if we go to this concept of need to learn, learning, mastery, right? When we start mastering things, we own them. And then you could start building on top of them, right? It's the same concept of like you build a habit and then you could start doing habit stacking, right? So put the 5 things down that you need to learn, right? 5 skills. 5. And then you're going to identify these are 5 things I need to learn, right? And then when you start committing to learning them, you need to practice them every day. Rachel, when are we going to start onboarding people onto Mighty Networks?
Next week, probably.
Okay.
In a slow roll. But what I'm thinking is that before the end of this session, if everybody wants to drop at least one thing that they're going to work on to start holding themselves accountable and getting the ball rolling, maybe that would be a good idea to have everybody hold themselves accountable. Drop one thing in the chat that you're going to start working on.
And then so in the way that our platform is set up, we have community boards for accountability, role play, referrals. We're going to have a prospecting one too, Rachel. We should add that for people that want to prospect. So in our prospecting board, what we're going to do is this. We want people to collaborate, that they all get on a Zoom call, right? Like we could even set up the link where people could add each other. Like we'll make the link one time, right? And what will happen is at 10 o'clock, someone in this group should lead this, right? Like this is, we're not doing this, just to be clear. So this is not, hey, how do I get on this? This is 100% community led, right? But you guys or someone here should step up and do this and we'll help promote it, right? In the sense that, look, if you have a hard time making the calls, if we're all on here making the calls together, remember, together we can always be more. Use the people in this group, use the community, rely on each other, share with each other, grow with each other. If someone says they want to master the objection of price, find that person and find 3 other people and practice 3 to 5 times a week. But you need to identify how many different things that you're learning, right? Like Matt's talking about offloading tasks, right? So he needs to work on delegating. How many control freaks do we have in this group? I see some of my favorite people smiling. Right? Like letting go is another thing. So like, look, part of the benefit of being with us here is the community, right? So 5 skills: need to learn, learning, mastery. You should not be working on more than 2 or 3 things at once. Let me say that again. You should not be working at 2 or 3 things at once. And when you start looking at your business like this, you start looking at your skills like this, you'll realize if you're really focused, it'll take you a few months to master something, but then you could start building on it, right? Like I know with the team in New York City or Brooklyn that I'm working with, we have this whole chart set up like this. And really what we're focusing on is all the things for a listing pitch, right? So we have 5 things laid out. They have the first 3 things going, right? And they're about to get one of them to mastery, which means they can add another thing on, right? But if you look at your learning like this, imagine what your real estate career was like if you focused every year like this for the last 5 years. Game changer, right, Corey? Like I'm asking you guys to commit 30 minutes a day, right? To mastering a skill. Julie, it'll never serve you bad to understand how to share your value proposition on a listing pitch that's unique, that's 100% client driven, and where it's clear, it's concise, and the other person understands the value that they're getting, right? It never gets old because this is the same conversation we have all the time, right? Some people need to work on how to listen. Who here needs to work on being a better listener? Okay. So do you guys want me to show you how to do that? Allie, unmute yourself. You knew I was going to call on you. So it's called the question game, right? And the interesting thing is you're going to do this with a role play partner and you're going to have a clock, right? And the thing that's interesting is how challenging this can become for people. Um, so look, the clock starts. I ask you a question. You acknowledge the question and then ask me another question in return. I have to acknowledge your question and ask you a question in return, right? Allie, what were you most excited about learning today?
What was I most excited about learning today? Um, oh gosh, I'm already panicking, Chirag. I can't. Am I asking like a random question after that, or?
So watch this. Why don't you start by asking me? See, but you see how challenging this is? We're at 15 seconds, right? And this is a very human thing. Like listen to what I'm saying, acknowledge it, ask a question, right? So why don't you ask the first question, right? We'll start all over. Ready? Go.
Okay. Chirag, what are you most looking forward to today?
I'm most looking forward to seeing the look on people's faces when they have a breakthrough. When you came here today, what were you looking forward to?
When I came here today, what was I looking forward to? Learning. I'm always interested in learning. What is one thing you're hoping to learn today?
Well, I was really hoping to get a clear understanding of how much people actually invest in developing their skills. You know, and you shared that you're interested in learning. What's that one thing that you want to learn now going forward after our conversation today?
In terms of skills I'm interested in learning, I think I want to work on marketing. If you had any marketing tips, what would that be?
Perfection is not progress, and doing something is better than doing nothing, and consistency always wins. What do you currently do for marketing? Guys, look, we're at 1 minute and 5 seconds. Did that look like it was awkward for her? Right? And look, that's 60 seconds. And what I want to show you is it is so hard to do this. Listening is 100% a learned skill, right? And we have the delusion of thinking if we share what we're going to do for them, you'll never want a client by telling them what you're going to do for them, right? It's like I remember being very present to my relationship and marriage and understand that every time my wife shared something with me, if I tried to solve her problem on the spot, she would hate me because it's not what she wants out of it, right? She might want to empathize. She wants to definitely feel heard, right? Any person does. And sometimes it's just sharing, right? It doesn't mean they're saying, hey, can you help me solve this, right? So if you don't know how to listen to people, guide a conversation. I could have talked to her like this forever, right? But if you put two people that don't practice listening and do this together, you're not going to get past 90 seconds. You're just going to be like a bad 4-letter word and be like, wow, right? So this is a skill that we all need to learn because guess what? Anywhere you go, you can have this conversation, make the other person across from you feel like they're the most important person. You're guiding the conversation, but this is a skill and this is how you practice it, right? So when we do our role-playing group, Rachel, make a note. The first thing we'll talk about is the listening game. And I'll make a video and put it in there. Based on this, who wants to work on their listening? That did not completely freak out. Okay, a few of us, right? Corey, raise your hand. There we go. So, look, this is important, but look, until you develop this skill of listening, how great of a presenter you'll be in sharing what you offer, right? Could you imagine sharing what you offer in the form of questions? And the thing is that's amazing in this is if you can ask the right questions, someone will tell you, oh, it's magic, exactly what they want. And then you give them what they want at the end. They're like, do you have any other questions? And they're like, no, I'm ready to move forward. Is because I don't know. I want to think about it. I'm not sure. All those things. It's you did not answer all the questions that somebody already showed up with. We're so busy about telling everyone how great we are and how we show up. It never happens. Cha-ching. That's where the money is, guys. 5 skills, 2 to 3 at a time. Get role play partners, right? So when I want you guys to plan out the rest of your year, I need you guys to prioritize the first 90 minutes of every day. And you have to call 5 people a day, period, end of story. 5 people that you know. 5. I'm looking for 5 calls a day at a 1% conversion rate, 5 days a week, 10 months out of the year. I promise each one of you 10 transactions. And if you're like, I don't have that many people in my database, great. Start calling vendors, start calling people in your community, start getting inquisitive of businesses, right? Go help someone else. And if you want to grow your audience and you want to connect with more people, right? Andrea, yes, 5 was personal development. And that's the next one we're going to get to. If you want to reach out to people, find people that have audiences and say, hey, I'd love to share what you do with my audience. Because guess what they'll do? They'll share with their audience that they're going to be on your stuff, right? It's called like growth hacking, right? So the last thing is personal development. You have to develop yourself as a person. Yes, Marina, focus on them, not you. 100% correct. When we talk about personal development, how often are we really developing ourselves as people, as leaders, as human beings, and doing things for ourselves? I could tell because I know a lot of you personally on this call is you don't prioritize yourselves. Who feels that their day starts and it's like dodgeball where the balls are being thrown at you all the time and you ask yourself, where's time for me? Raise your hand, be honest. Most of us, right? And the reality is we need to focus on ourselves. Personal development. How do you plan on growing as a person? Someone asked me recently in an interview I did, what are you afraid of the most? And I said, well, if you take out like health of like friends and family, my biggest fear in life is being the same person, the same place I was a year ago. Drives me every day to want to do more, be more, have more, right? So ask yourself, what have you done for yourself? Do you guys go to conferences? Do you invest in education? I know you guys show up here every day, right? But like, what are you doing for yourselves? And do you have at least 30 minutes a day that you do something that you love? How do you do that? 6 a.m.ers, it's a great place, right? Personal development. Is anyone else working on anything in their life, right? Like for me, personal development is working with my crazy performance coach with nutrition and working out, right? But I also get mentally out of it a way to grow, work through challenging situations. I personally find a lot you can get out of it. Who here has something they're doing for personal development and growth? A hobby. I find real estate agents have no hobbies. Jessica, you might be my new poster child. Diane, you have hobbies?
Race horses.
Race horses. Good.
I plan to, like, when people go to the baseball fields, every baseball field in the US to see each game, I plan to go to each of the tracks that the Triple Crown winners race at.
I want all of you guys to make on your list a little box, right? Because all these things are like a little checklist you're going to make, right? That's awesome. Starting a community garden. I want you to check a box every day for the rest of the month that says, did I do something for myself today? You know why people have real estate burnout and fatigue? Because when you wake up and you go on your phone and you go on Instagram, and as soon as the day starts, you're doing stuff for all other people. That's the nature of this job. It's also very lonely because you're working in an individual setting with people, right? You're by yourself almost the whole day in many ways for people. So I need you guys to find 30 minutes a day to prioritize yourself. I play video games with my son. I watch Netflix, right? Like, I like reading. I try to have conversations that are not related to work. These are all things that you can try doing. Who here ever feels guilty about not spending enough time with friends and family? Can all of you guys reach out to one friend a month and make sure that you catch up with them? Because here's the pattern for people. I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. And then people show up and they're just like, I'm like, what's wrong? you know, I've had these friends for a while and they all got together and for some reason they just didn't call me. Yeah, because you told them you're busy all the time. And even when you see them, you're on your phone the whole time. So why would anyone want to hang out with you? This thing, we did a whole thing and I made a few people cry when we did this during the pandemic. I don't call this a cell phone. I call it the regret phone. I call it the regret phone because everything that you're going to regret in your life that just passed you by is because your face is freaking buried in that cell phone. You tell me you don't have time for stuff. Like, people don't want to show up to the coaching calls and share their screen time with me because they know what's coming next. It's nothing good, right? So if I ask you to share your screen time because you're not being productive, you're not going to be happy with what I have to say after that. As one person said, it represents the inconvenient truth. So let's kind of tie this all together, right? Focus on having a clear evening routine. An evening routine is shutting your phone down and preparing so when you start your morning, you can just catapult into the day and go. When you start your morning routine, prioritize yourself, right? It's a time for positive audio, reading, join Sky Michael's 6 a.m.ers if you haven't. Make sure that you go to the gym, exercise, drink water, eat a healthy breakfast. It's about creating that state, right? The next thing is time blocking the first 90 minutes of your day effectively, right? You're coming in here, you're investing in yourself, and then make sure that you make those 5 calls, right? Skill development. We're talking about 5 skills we need to develop. You need to identify those skills. Don't work on more than 2 or 3 of them at once, right? Reach out to other people, practice them every day till you have them mastered. And you need to know what mastery looks like prior to doing it, right? So if you're talking about handling pricing objections, right? It's to the place that you're committed to doing it from memory, where you can make it that you're not getting defensive, that you could answer the question, you put it back on the other person, and you feel confident and excited when somebody asks you that because you know what to do, right? So work on your skills. The 5th thing is personal development, right? Make sure that you're working on growing who you are as a person, and you need to block 30 minutes a day. There should never be a day in our lives that at the end of being entrepreneurs with great businesses and all the opportunities we have, at the end of the day, we feel we didn't prioritize ourselves. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone around you. And believe me, I see the burnout on people every day. And they're like, well, I don't have time. I'm like, great, open up your freaking screen time. Stop looking at Instagram for an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes a day. It's not doing anything for you. Nothing. That's it, guys. And so I see new people here every day, and I really believe in this. So I'm going to say this again is, who has not signed up for our event and needs to sign up? Okay, Rachel, can you stay on here a couple minutes and I will put the link in the thing, and please go and sign up now. We want to prioritize having you guys in the right networking groups and everything else. And look, it's a nice place to meet people, right? Like, if you really want to network and grow your business with other agents, this is a place to do it. And like, we have an early bird special. If you just want to get a general admission ticket, it's $250 for 2 days worth of stuff. The first day is a full packed day with us. And the second day you're going to Compass headquarters. And so far we have agents coming from 12 different states. So it's a good opportunity to meet people you have not. So I encourage you guys to go on now, sign up, let us know when you signed up. And next week, when we launch the app, we're creating a message board for everyone that is coming from the event. So you can network, you can start setting up coffee meetings. If you want to host a meeting, I will be working with the sales managers locally to help set stuff up in the offices. And it's a great time if you're also going to Austin to meet people prior to that. So when you go there, it's not like you're looking around for strangers or you stay in the same group. So I put the link in the chat box, hit the chat button and go sign up. And I have to jump off, but Rachel will stay on for a couple minutes just to let people go on and do it. So I realized yesterday somebody said, you dropped the link and then you left. Sound good? All right, guys. So look, we will see you tomorrow for Agent Talk. We have Chris Thoman coming on from Boston. Chris was an agent, is a manager, does coaching at Compass, and he manages 400 people. So he has all kinds of great nuggets for you guys. And that's it. So I look forward to also meeting a lot of you guys in a couple months in New York. So thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.